Welcome to Homes with Purpose. Let me start with a provocative question for our listeners. What happens when a small town rejects a project that could provide hundreds of affordable homes? Last year, I witnessed a developer struggle with exactly that. Financing was ready, zoning approvals were in place, yet the community board repeatedly said no, citing traffic, aesthetics, and preserving the town's character. It makes you wonder, how often do perception and politics outweigh real need? For professionals in real estate, this raises a critical challenge. How do we balance market data, financial feasibility, and community sentiment while still creating meaningful impact?
That's an important question, David. In situations like that, I always emphasize three strategies. First, proactive and authentic engagement with stakeholders. Don't wait until public hearings to start the conversation. Second, diversified financing. Relying solely on government incentives is risky. And third, understanding local legislation and its practical implications. Beyond these, real estate professionals need to map actual affordability, frame projects as community assets, and structure capital to withstand delays or pushback. Affordable housing is not just a transaction, it is a responsibility to the people who will live there and the neighborhoods that will grow around it. Innovation, creative problem solving, and ethical leadership are the keys to transforming these challenges into opportunity.
That's a fantastic framework, Daniel. When you mentioned proactive and authentic engagement, it immediately resonated with that developer's struggle. They felt like they were constantly on the back foot, always reacting. Can you elaborate a bit more on what that proactive engagement actually looks like? Because engagement can sometimes just mean sending out a flyer, right?
Exactly, David. It's far more than a flyer. Proactive engagement means getting into the community before you even have architectural drawings. It means having informal conversations, hosting listening sessions, perhaps even sponsoring a local event. It's about understanding the existing fabric of the neighborhood, the local concerns, the aspirations, and yes, even the historical grievances, well before you present a concrete plan. It's about building trust, showing that you're not just coming in to impose something, but to collaborate. This helps you identify potential resistance early and, more importantly, to incorporate community feedback into the project's design from the very beginning.
So it's about shifting from telling to listening and co-creating. I imagine that's a huge mindset shift for many developers who are used to working through a more traditional top-down process. But even with that, how do you overcome what often feels like an emotional response from residents? The not in my backyard, the NIMBY, phenomenon is so powerful, often overriding logical arguments about need or economic benefit.
You hit on a crucial point, David. It is often emotional. People fear change, they fear the unknown. They might project anxieties about traffic, school overcrowding, property values, or even safety onto a new development. Our job then isn't just to present data, it's to address those underlying fears with empathy and practical solutions. Framing the project as a community asset is key. Instead of just housing units, talk about the seniors who can now age in place, the young professionals who can afford to stay in their hometown, the essential workers, teachers, nurses, firefighters who can live where they serve. Show how the project might include public green space, improve local infrastructure, or even create local jobs. It's about painting a picture of a better community, not just a bigger one.
That makes so much sense. It's about connecting the dots for people, making it personal. I think back to that project last year. The developer really struggled to articulate the human impact. They were great with numbers, but less so with stories. And you also mentioned understanding local legislation and its practical implications. That seems almost too obvious, but I suspect it's more complex than just reading the zoning code.
It absolutely is, David. It's not just about what the code says, but how it's interpreted and applied by various boards, commissions, and even individual officials. You need to understand the unwritten rules, the historical precedents, the political leanings of the decision makers. Sometimes a well-intentioned zoning ordinance can have unintended consequences, or there might be loopholes or incentive programs that aren't widely publicized. Knowing these intricacies can inform your design, your financing, and even your engagement strategy. For instance, some municipalities offer density bonuses for affordable units, or fast-track permitting for projects that meet specific sustainability criteria. Missing those details can cost you time and money, or even lead to rejection.
So, it's not just legal homework but almost like political and social anthropology of the area. Fascinating. Let's pivot a bit to your second strategy, diversified financing. You mentioned relying solely on government incentives is risky. With interest rates fluctuating and budget cycles always uncertain, I can certainly see why. What does diversified financing look like in practice for an affordable housing project?
Great question, David. Think of it as a capital stack with multiple layers. Government programs like low-income housing tax credits or light tech are undeniably foundational for many affordable housing projects, but they are also competitive and can be subject to political whims. Diversification means looking beyond that. It could involve philanthropic capital from foundations or impact investors who are looking for a social return alongside a financial one. It could mean engaging with community land trusts or other nonprofit partners who bring their own capital or access to grants. We also see more creative models like crowdfunding, social impact bonds, or partnerships with local businesses who understand the value of a stable local workforce. The goal is to create a robust financial structure that can weather delays, changes in policy, or even unexpected construction costs without collapsing. It provides resilience.
That's brilliant, because it also ties back to your first point about community engagement. If local businesses or foundations are invested, they become additional stakeholders and advocates. It's not just about money, it's about shared commitment. I'm curious, Daniel, in your experience, what's the biggest misconception developers have when they embark on an affordable housing project? Is it that it's just like any other development or something else?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions, David, is viewing it solely as a financial transaction. While financial viability is paramount for any project, affordable housing carries a much deeper social imperative. It's not just about building units, it's about building homes, fostering communities, and addressing systemic inequities. Developers who approach it with only a profit motive often miss the nuances of community impact, resident needs, and the long-term stewardship required. This can lead to projects that, while financially successful, don't truly integrate into the neighborhood or meet the diverse needs of the people they're supposed to serve. It requires a different kind of leadership, one rooted in ethical considerations and a genuine understanding of social responsibility.
Ethical leadership. That really resonates. Because at the end of the day, these are people's lives we're talking about, not just square footage. What are some of the innovative solutions you've seen emerge in recent years that tackle these challenges, both from a community buy-in and a financial perspective?
We're seeing some incredibly creative approaches, David. On the community side, things like participatory design workshops where future residents or local community members actually contribute to the layout or amenities. This creates immediate buy-in and a sense of ownership. Think about modular construction, for instance, which can significantly reduce construction timelines and costs, making projects more viable and less disruptive to existing communities during the build phase. Or adaptive reuse, transforming old commercial buildings or schools into housing, which often sidesteps some of the new construction aesthetic debates and preserves local character. Financially, some cities are experimenting with inclusionary zoning coupled with density bonuses, essentially saying if you include affordable units, we'll allow you to build more units overall. It creates a win-win scenario, theoretically.
Those examples really highlight how innovation can bridge these gaps. Modular construction, that's a game changer for speed and cost, but also potentially for reducing neighborhood disruption. And adaptive reuse, that just feels inherently smarter, making use of what's already there. But even with all these innovations, Dr. Cham, are there still situations where, despite best efforts, a project simply cannot get off the ground due to immovable community opposition or political gridlock?
Sadly, yes, David, there are. Sometimes the opposition is so entrenched or the political landscape so fragmented that even the most innovative and ethically driven projects face insurmountable hurdles. In those situations, a developer might need to make the tough call to either pivot to a different site or revisit the project at a later time when conditions might be more favorable. It's disheartening, but it's also a reality check that not every battle can be won, at least not immediately. The key is to learn from those experiences, understand why it failed, and apply those lessons to future endeavors. It's part of the continuous learning curve in this complex field.
That's a very honest assessment, and I appreciate that. It reminds us that real estate, especially affordable housing, isn't just about spreadsheets and blueprints, it's about human dynamics. So for our listeners who are real estate professionals trying to make an impact in this space, what's one piece of actionable advice you'd give them to start incorporating these principles into their next project?
My advice would be this: before you even consider land acquisition or design, dedicate significant time to truly listen to the community. Go beyond the official meetings, grab coffee with local leaders, attend community events, spend time in local parks, understand the heart and soul of that neighborhood. What do they value? What are their fears? What are their dreams? That foundational understanding will not only help you tailor a project that genuinely serves their needs, but it will also give you the insights to frame your proposal in a way that resonates, builds trust, and hopefully transforms potential opposition into enthusiastic support. It's about building relationships first, then building homes.
Building relationships first, then building homes. That's a powerful takeaway, Daniel. It shifts the entire paradigm. Dr. Daniel Cham, it's been an incredibly insightful conversation, truly illuminating the path forward for tackling the affordable housing crisis with purpose and ingenuity. Thank you so much for joining us on Homes with Purpose today.
Thank you, David. It was a pleasure.
And to all our listeners, remember, the challenges in affordable housing are immense, but so are the opportunities to create lasting, positive change. By embracing proactive engagement, diversified financing, and ethical leadership, we can move beyond mere transactions to truly build homes with purpose. Join us next time for more on Homes with Purpose. Until then, keep building a better future.